guys, welcome to another episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for real producers, by real producers, and with none other than Tampa Bay's Real Producers, powered as well by Top Producers Nation, which is designed to help agents all over the country hit their goals and become top producers in their desired markets. So you can check us out at topproducersnation.com to learn more about that community as well. Today, we get to hang out with our guest, Stacey Ward. How you doing, Stacey?
Great. How are you?
It's good to have you. Yeah, no doubt. I'm doing well. Stacey and I met yesterday, actually, for the first time at our MVP social. So if she looks familiar, it's because she was featured in our September 2024 spotlight as a featured agent in this most recent issue of Tampa Bay Real Producers that just came out. So check that out, of course, online at tampabayrealproducers.com, and you can read a little bit more about Stacey's story. But we're going to dive into that story right now anyway. So if you're listening on any of our podcast platforms, and this is what the magazine article was basically about, all right? So Stacey, why don't we start a little bit with just your background for people who might not know you at all. Did you grow up in Tampa? If not, how did you get to Tampa? And eventually, how did you get interested in real estate? Or what did you do before real estate?
Okay. Well, I can say that I am not from Tampa. I was born in Toronto. And then when I was...
A Canadian, huh?
Yeah.
There you go.
And then when I was about 9 years old, we moved here. So I've been,
Moved to Tampa?
Yeah. Well, Palm Harbor.
Okay.
And we lived there all through high school. And I love the area. My mom actually always made us go through open houses as kids. So
she was an agent?
I think that I think that she was planting the seed really, really young. My sister's also in real estate as well. So I think that naturally it just came out. But I didn't jump into real estate when I first.
Your mom just had a thing for open houses, huh?
She loves houses. Yeah, she does. She does have her license now. I apologize. She didn't when we were growing up.
Yep.
But when we, as a child, we were constantly going through different open houses. She loved buying houses. She bought our house here without my dad. And I think that independence kind of settled in at an early age. I've always worked. I worked multiple jobs in high school, but I think that my first professional job was with Verizon Wireless, and I started in South Tampa.
Nice. Just working in one of their stores?
Yeah, I was their inventory control manager.
Okay.
And then we started, I worked there, and then we started opening up stores around the Gulf Coast with my husband. He worked there as well. And it just evolved. And then
Is that where you met him?
No.
Okay.
I met him at a restaurant job, actually. So before that.
Okay.
Yeah, he was my manager.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I love telling that story.
Dating the staff. I don't know about that one. That's controversial.
I know.
So do you get to go back to Toronto at all? Do you ever hang out in the Canadian scene?
Yeah, not during the pandemic. But yeah, I have my cousins up there. I have two sisters up there. I have my uncle. I have
cool.
a lot of family there still.
Yeah. I like that city. I've been there a few times. I grew up in Connecticut, so it's not that far to drive up there or even fly up there. I had a baseball tournament years ago when I was a kid, early teenager, that was in Toronto. And so I had to fly up, play in that tournament there, and then go to a Blue Jays game, I remember, at the Sky Dome. And it's a very clean city. It just was, It was cool. I enjoyed it up there.
My dad used to have season tickets. He actually went to the 92 and 93 World Series.
Nice. Yeah. Those were big ones.
Oh, I know.
They haven't been back since, but the Joe Carter home run in the corner of the stadium there, right?
We've got a big plaque on the wall.
That's neat. Yeah, I was a Yankees fan, so I wasn't really rooting for the Blue Jays, but I do remember them. Yes, very much so.
Don't say that to the Canadians.
So you had, I guess, ingrained in you this love for open houses as you were a kid, and your mom was parading you around these open houses, I guess. Do you feel like you always knew that you wanted to get into real estate as a business, or did that not really ever cross your mind?
Never.
Okay.
Never really crossed my mind until my sister got into real estate, and I was in Pensacola at the time, and she started getting really busy. Yeah. And I had just had my middle daughter, and she was like, "You need to come home." She's like, "We can start a team," and I was like, "I don't know." My husband's in a sales job, and I was like, "How does that look?" You just popping out kids left and right, and now you're going to put both, providers in a sales only, commission only job.
Yeah, why not risk it all?
I said, let's go, let's do this.
Yep.
So we both left our job. We were fortunate enough that we came back and did like a transition period, and he started working back at the Tampa office. And after that, I jumped into real estate, went full time, and never looked back. I didn't realize how much I would love it.
Nice. So you jumped in full time right away.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people don't do that, which I think is interesting because some people have to kind of dip their toe in first and see how it goes and kind of balance it around another job, especially if that was their experience, was working as a W-2 or something and having that fear of commission only. And is that really the right path for me to take? But I guess your husband stayed in that type of work, so you had a little bit of that stability. Did that help in that decision?
Yeah, that helped. But also my sister, Kristen, is like a huge optimist.
Yeah.
Like she is like, there is no what if. She like, no, you're going to do this. This is just what it's going to be, and you're going to make it happen. And I think that was a big driving force as well.
Was she and she was in it how long before you did?
I don't remember exactly how many, definitely a couple years.
Okay.
I don't remember
So that definitely helps. She had some traction hopefully by that point, and
she
went
was
through a little
really
bit
good.
of the ups and downs. So what was your first year like? Do you remember your experience in year one?
Yeah. So my first year, when I passed my salary commission or in commission sales, the first, like, I remember it was like 8 months in, I was like, wow, I've already made what I made, doing my other job.
Yeah.
Hey, but I'm not working. At the time, I was working at like midnight to run reports. And then I would get up at 5 a.m. and run new reports. And then I was working a full day. So I was working sometimes, 14-hour days.
Sure.
And it was a lot. And it was in front of a computer. And then you had salespeople calling you. And everybody knows operations and sales always kind of has like that tension.
Don't
right?
always see eye to eye on everything.
No. So
Right.
a lot of times the phone calls were not like rosy and sunshine. So it was a lot of stress.
Good thing they are in real estate, right? Nothing
Yeah,
better.
no, but you know what? You can actually mitigate it. You can control it yourself because you have more control over it. When you're in a corporate setting, you have to follow all their protocols and all their rules.
Yeah. And that rigidity, if that's the right word, is not easy for everybody to follow. I know for me, I would drive myself crazy, and if I had to deal with that. So I need that freedom to be able to kind of be me and be authentic and just
100%.
be who I'm going to be. And so it sounds like that first year was pretty fulfilling for you then. And diving in, you had some pretty good results, it sounds like, within those first 8 months or so. Yeah. Do you remember like anything that really helped you get off to a fast start? Was there a specific strategy? Was there a mentor that was kind of helping you get things rolling? Did you just tap into your like warm market of people that you knew, or what would that initial strategy look like for you?
I felt pressure from my sister because she immediately was like, just pushed me in and was like, we're going to do stuff evenly. So I felt the need that I had to find business and just go out there and get it. Mm-hmm. So I I would go on garage sales and I would say, oh, are you guys downsizing? Are you looking to sell? And I actually found my first listing that way. Cool. Was from another friend, but it was during the garage sale process, and the guy was having a garage sale.
Yeah.
So, that was probably the first thing. I poured into education. I cannot, I feel like I said this before to another broker, and they're like, you need to be on the Pinellas Realtor Organization website, because I was talking about how GRI was so good. I mean, I felt like what I went in, because I didn't start with Keller Williams. Everybody talks about Keller Williams and their training. I did everything backwards. I came in like after 6 years of real estate, and you
went with the like veteran brokerage that provides no training but doesn't take as much commission either, right? So so I started, I'll figure it out on my own and go from there.
Yeah, I went to Charles Rutenberg, then I went to Coastal, and now I'm with Keller Williams. So I kind of went backwards, but GRI was just a pivotal moment for me. Like the stuff I learned in the first, even 101, GRI 101 it was eye opening.
That's cool. So you got this garage sales strategy that was starting to work for you. And did you do any open houses? So were you working with your sister?
Yeah.
On the same team, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that was probably helpful too, because whatever strategies your sister was already implementing, I'm assuming you were learning from that and implementing some of those same things and generating your own leads. Is that true?
Yeah, we definitely generate our own leads. Kristen is incredible with just talking to people. She's very personable and people just gravitate to her. So it was very easy for her to just talk to somebody and get business. I'm like regimented. I'm like, what do I need to do to complete this? So I had to find different outlets, and
That's that corporate background that you had there. You needed those systems in place.
I did, and I started networking. Like I started doing networking groups. I found a couple that didn't work for me. I did the PTA thing. I did the HOA thing. I was on every possible board I could find so that I could just have as many conversations as possible.
Yeah. And has the business just kind of gradually grown year over year, or has it been different path than that?
Oh, no, it's definitely grown year over year.
Yep. I know you said earlier, like your best year was last year, I think, right? Over 15 million, which is obviously, as you saw earlier, like why Stacey was featured in the magazine, because to be in the top 500 in Tampa Bay, an agent would have had to do 13 million or more in volume. Stacey did over 15 last year and hit that top 500 mark over close to 40 transactions, I think is what you said that it was. So that was your best year. I know you told me yesterday you feel like you're pretty much lined up to do something similar again this year and maybe even hopefully see some growth again, from this year as well. So in your experience, like, has the strategies at all evolved from year to year? Is there something that's working for you now that is different maybe than 3 or 4 or 5 years ago? Or has it just been the same stuff, but just getting better and better at it?
No, I mean, I think that I plateaued. I think it was like at year 3 or 4, I remember I was like, why can't I just break through? Like, I think I was stuck at like 5 million. And that's when I was like, I really ramped up my networking. And then that's when I really poured into education. So I do think those two things are monumental for my business.
Networking and
Education. Because I think the conversations that you have with anybody you could be in the grocery store, but if you know what's going on with flood insurance, if you know what's going on with homeowners insurance, and you know what's going on with interest rates, and you can have an educated conversation, they know, like, and trust you.
Sure.
And then they want to work with you.
Positioned yourself as an expert, right?
Right.
So when you say education, you're talking about like real estate market type education, like just what's happening in the market, trends, things that are important to know. Are you also talking just about like self-development, personal development education as well, or is there anything else there?
I do self-development. I try and read 10 minutes a day where it's something, positive, motivational, and something that's going to enrich me. As far as what I was referring to, though, no, I mean, I talk to as many people as I can in the industry and hear what's going on within their world so that I can educate my clients.
Makes sense. Yeah. What are some of your favorite go-to resources for that? Podcasts or books or just people?
I listen to a ton of podcasts.
Do you really? Yeah. What are some of your favorites?
Offhand.
Other than us, of course, but what are some of your...
Well, no, yeah. But I listen to, first and foremost, I listen to a lot of Christian podcasts. I do. Yeah? And I think that just gets my day going.
Good thing for the soul.
Yeah, and like I got to look at my podcast now because I don't want to. I do a lot of Keller Williams podcasts. I do. Yeah. I have like the One Thing podcast in my line. I do the MREA. Those ones are all really good. The Ninja Selling. I mean, I just had to look.
Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, I try and switch it up because I do get bored.
Keller Williams does have some great training programs and consistently provides a lot of that ongoing education component, right? Is that one of the things that attracted you to joining them?
No, I actually thought that Keller Williams was only for new agents. And I was like, I'm never going to work there. I really thought I would never go there. It was, Jessica Fox constantly coaching me. And I got to the point where I was like, what would Jessica do? And then I was like, this is really weird. I'm at a different brokerage.
Did you have one of those bands, the WWJ?
Yeah, right? When a coach gives you enough like momentum and you're constantly like, yeah, I want more. Like, what can we do? That's what really pushed me there. I personally thought that Keller Williams was just designed to educate new agents and then they start there and then they leave.
Yeah.
So I had no intention of ever going there.
Wow. So you ended up going, and it sounds like it was a good decision for you because you've been growing your business ever since, huh?
Yeah, in the culture. So we have like a lot of agents in our office.
Yeah.
that we all help each other. So, and this isn't like a pitch to Keller Williams.
You
or
work out of
anything.
the Palm Harbor office, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some great agents
just
that
like
work
them.
out of there that we've had on the show before. Jody Avery is one name that comes to mind, among others that are in that KW area, you know?
Yeah.
That do very well. And I know we talked yesterday a little bit about your relationship with Bill.
Oh, I love Bill.
Absolutely. He's been on the show as well. Shout out to Bill Parker out there and everything that you've been building as well. So I think you guys have worked together on a leadership council. Is that right?
Yeah, we're on the ALC together, which is the Agent Leadership Council. So, which is great. We mastermind a lot. We have different committees where it might be like finance or growth. I'm on safety and wellness. So,
How often do you guys meet?
Once a month.
Okay. And the objective of the meetings is to talk about like what specifically?
So our meetings it's more of like a board of directors for the office. We are trying to be the voice of the agents in the office and then bring it to the leadership.
Okay.
And then in doing so, we have subcommittees that we can, we have our culture committee, finance and growth, different avenues to help agents just be well-rounded and, help them out.
Cool. So now that you consistently have seen some growth in the business, are all the leads and everything that you're closing now, is that still mostly coming through just networking and and what you've built, your personal network that you've established, or have you invested in lead sources or lead gen sources or done other things to also kind of, support the business at this point?
I am so blessed that I don't pay a cent.
You don't have to.
Leads, no. My business is 100% referral business. 56% last year was just based off of networking.
Yep.
And the year before that was 44%. So it's been going up continuously. And then the rest of my business, I would all but like 1%. 1% is like open house sign. The rest of it is just from past friends and families.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Where does your vision take you as far as where you want it to go rest of this year, next year? I know right now you're operating as an individual agent, right? We talked a little bit yesterday about how you might at some point want to build a team if that's the case. So what gets you excited when you think about where you want this to go over the next few years?
Well, I love what I'm doing now. But I don't think I have the capacity with my kids. I told you, I'm like, my kids are in middle school and I really want to just focus on them when I have free time. So I think once they're in high school, all three of them, and then one's going into college, we're not there yet. That's when I'll focus on starting a team. I want to build a team, but
there's something about that that's appealing to you?
Oh yeah. I really like the idea. I like that you can start from nothing, grow it, and then help others build their business. And I think that goes back to the culture that I really like about Keller Williams is they all try and help build and get better, right?
For sure.
I just can't build another team when I'm trying to build three little munchkins into
you have your own team at
into
home.
Adults. Yeah. So we'll work on that.
No, that shows where your priorities are aligned too, which is always a breath of fresh air to recognize as well, because I think that's probably the most important team that you can build is that one at home for sure. What do you find now, Stacey, is the most fulfilling part of being an agent? What do you appreciate the most about it?
I'm gonna say it. I am predominantly a listing agent, but I love buyers. When first-time home buyers, like when you see them get excited, I don't know. It's kind of like a drug. It's like when you see them go through the house and then they're like, I don't really like it. I don't really like it. And then when they go through the house and they have that glow and they're like, this is it. This is it. And then being able to make that happen for them, whether it's like a really sticky situation because there's several obstacles to overcome, or if it's smooth and they already were prepared and educated, and planned well in advance. But I know.
So that gets your thrill up, huh?
Yeah.
So out of your, say, 40 transactions last year, how many of them are listings compared to buyers?
So I was 65% listings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still majority listings, but you balanced out pretty well there. Is this NAR settlement affected you at all on the buyer side or anything that you've done differently because of that?
Yeah. I think that for me, I'd be lying if I said it didn't, but I think it's just having more conversations with buyers. And I have yet to see any of my listings where the seller doesn't want to compensate the buyer's agent because they understand I'm having that conversation with them. In this market, you're going to want to compensate them. It's not affordable. It's not. I'm like, with insurance, down payment, closing costs, now you want the buyer to also pay for the buyer's agent commission. It doesn't make sense.
Yep.
So for me, if it's just having an additional conversation with the listing or with the sellers during the listing presentation, and thank God I haven't had any problems with that yet, because I don't think it's...
Well, it sounds like you're setting the right expectations up front, and that's a big part, I would think, of the conversation, is not just assuming that they're going to think that's the right thing to do, later, but to actually lay it out as part of your listing presentation that this is our best strategy, and here's why. Yeah. And that way, when they sign you on they already know that that's what they've agreed to, Yeah,
and I think the media has really portrayed it in the wrong way. Sure. I think that they're saying things that they shouldn't be saying. I know. And it's frustrating because, I've run into people a couple times actually in the last month where they've made comments, oh, so you're not working with buyers anymore. Buyers don't need realtors. I'm like, well, I would hope so.
Right.
Because they're going to, think about the liability. Think about, they don't know, especially first-time home buyers, or maybe somebody that has never done it.
Right.
I mean, there is so many what ifs.
Yep.
And not knowing how to mitigate a contract or pre-occupancy, or who knows.
Totally.
There's every transaction's different. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely been insane. I think some of the ways that it's been portrayed, and it really, if someone we talked, Corey last night was at our event, and she was talking about how it's actually really helped her business because of the way that she's been able to approach it head on, and she was getting those commitments now up front that she wasn't necessarily getting before, and it's really made everything much smoother. So I think that's really if you give people the benefit of the doubt, I would argue that maybe that was the intent from the association in the beginning, to hopefully provide something that maybe would even help agents. Yeah. But I know that that's not the way that it's been portrayed, as you said, from the media sources. So
no, don't listen to the media.
And probably anything nowadays. So that's a good point. Right. What have I asked you about what's the most fulfilling. On the opposite of that, like, what have you found to be the most challenging part of building your business the way you have? Is there something that you've had to really overcome?
Oh, okay. So public speaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're doing great right now.
Yeah.
This isn't public. We're just hanging out
anyway.
Clammy
hands.
Yes.
I'm real. No, but to be honest, I launched myself into networking, and I could feel my legs. They were like jello. My hands were clammy, and it was that pushing yourself into something uncomfortable will always create greatness. And it took time. Did I get there? Yeah. I talk in front of people all the time now, in a public setting, but that would probably be my largest accomplishment, but also it was one of my hardest things to overcome.
Yeah, no, I see that. They still say that, public speaking, or even like being out there in the networking world, is like the biggest fear that people have, even more than death, right? Which is crazy for some people who actually enjoy that kind of thing, but not death, but public speaking. Yes. So you would imagine that it wouldn't be that hard to get in front of people, especially as an agent, where it's kind of part of your job is to get out there, right?
Oh yeah.
And position yourself. But how did you overcome it? You just did it.
You gotta do it.
Just go for it. And you realize it's not that painful, right? Just like this podcast,
It's not. Yeah. I mean, I try and do stuff that makes me uncomfortable, because that's what is going.
That's how you get out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. That's what they say.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a quote one of my mentors used to tell me, which was, "A mind once stretched never regains its original form." Oh. And so it's just kind of the fancy way of saying that getting yourself allowing yourself to stay in a comfort zone just inhibits your growth, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can find ways that you're always challenging yourself, and that whether it's through physical activity, working out, business, mental, spiritual, whatever it is, how can you take things to the next level to see what you're really capable of? Mm-hmm. That's where growth comes in. Without that, life is pretty boring.
It is.
That's how it works. Let's give a couple thoughts for people who don't know you yet on the personal side. So we've talked a lot about business so far. I know you mentioned earlier that you have 3 kids, right? Yep. And how old are they again?
15, 12, and 11.
Okay. So they're all pretty close in age, and you got your hands full at home. By the way, does your husband still work with the corporate life?
Yes, but he works for he's been in a different job for quite some time.
Okay. So is he a huge fan of your real estate success and your biggest cheerleader now, or what?
He is my biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He cooks really good too.
Oh, you got a nice one at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite. I don't cook anything. Thank God my wife is taking care of that. So your kids,
She has to. She's got a whole team there.
She's a superwoman. What can I say? So do your kids have an interest in real estate, do you think? Is that something they might want to follow?
No, actually, my daughter yesterday said she wants to be an attorney, and I was like, yes.
Nice.
A real estate attorney?
We need one on the team.
I know. But no, none of them have really shown that yet. I think my son's he's still deciding really what path he wants to do. And my youngest daughter wants to be an interior decorator. So that is kind of...
Yeah, sure. You're building out a nice little in-house team.
Yeah.
You're talking about wanting to build a team eventually anyway. Now you're adding some people that can actually enhance that team. It makes sense.
And they all do help me. Like my son will do like some essential staging, like he does all the heavy lifting. And then my daughter, she'll edit like videos and stuff for me. So
nice. What do you guys do for fun when you're just hanging out and not working so hard?
My kids are in a lot of sports.
Okay.
So I am constantly taking them figure skating, hockey, parkour, cheer, now volleyballs every single night. So it's a lot.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
So we really don't have a lot of free time. So if we do have free time, we try and spend it with the family, like going to dinner or, beach days, stuff like that. Yeah.
So as an agent, knowing that there's kind of a feeling in the business that you have to be available 24/7, that your phone's always got to be on, I know your phone's been blowing up even just here hanging out with us. So like, how do you balance that with taking care of everything that your family needs and still providing that access to your clients?
My kids are really good to me. They really are. Like they don't like it all the time, yet they have adapted to it and they support me. Mm-hmm. So if they see me on a call, they know not to, jump in and start talking to me about, they want to go to Starbucks or something, Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, they've been respectful. It's difficult at times. It's something that I probably need to put in place a time limit, to be honest. I think that I will answer my phone till 10 o'clock at night and start at 5 a.m. the next morning. And I've never cared because I've always just like been out there for my clients.
Sure.
But I do probably think that it's something that now that we're talking about it, I probably
I'm glad I brought it up.
I probably need to put a limit to like 7 or 8 o'clock. Yeah.
Well, I was asking because that is something that we have had similar conversations with people who are trying to do both those things, right? Mm-hmm. And run, have kids, have their family, and try to protect that time and really keep it, sacred. Might not be the right word, but that family time, and somehow protect that, when it is really hard to have quality family time if you're constantly being interrupted with a client question or whatever the case may be. So it's just everyone's got to find their own way and their own balance. And, I think when we create those boundaries, at least the patterns I've seen is that like you tend to get as much work done in the hours that you allocate.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you just allocate hours anytime, you'll get pretty much the same amount of work done as if you didn't and you allocated it for a specific time. You just start training people on when you're available and when you're not. And people who are the right people to work with you tend to respect that. I think in general, right? There's always going to be exceptions.
It took me years to not work Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I was like, no, I have to show them the house, especially during like the beginning of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Right. And then I got to the point where I was like, I think it was like 2 weeks in a row. I couldn't go to church. Mm-hmm. And I was just putting them first. And I was like, there's nothing saying that I can't block off half of a day once a week. And once I did, it was huge. And I was always worried, like, how is my client going to perceive that if I'm like, hey, I'm not available this time.
Yeah.
And I was worried that they would want to work with somebody else. And I have never had that issue.
Totally.
Once I made that change, I haven't gone back on it.
Yeah. And I think generally, like I said, the right clients respect that.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're a person just like they are, and you should have a life that matters and is important. And by creating those boundaries, you actually train your clients on how to communicate with you. I'm a big believer in that in general, that as a business owner, you have to, no matter what business you're in, you have to train your clients on how you should be communicated to. Right. And that's part of creating those boundaries, I think. So
I agree, yeah.
I'm glad we brought it up. Something to chew on, right? Something to think about.
Taking notes.
Yeah, something to think about. Couple rapid fire questions, Stacey, as we wrap up here in just a few minutes. So Do you have, I know you mentioned earlier a couple favorite podcasts that you already brought up. Do you have any favorite books, authors, seminars that you've attended that you feel like have made a huge impact on you personally or professionally?
I just started reading What Exactly to Say by Phil. I can't remember his last name. But
What Exactly to Say?
Yeah.
That's cool. Is it a business book?
Yeah. And it's more about, and my coach recommended it to me. Because I kept saying, I'm like, I felt uncomfortable saying certain things, especially when you're transitioning. There's so much going on in the media and he's like, this is going to give you some more guidance and more direction. And I've just started it, but it's a really good book.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. I have not heard of it, and I love to read. So
I want to say it's Phil
I appreciate
Jones.
the recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Exactly to Say. And you mentioned your coach a couple of times. How long have you been coaching?
2 years now.
Okay. Has that been a big thing for you?
It has, and I didn't think it was, because everybody was saying, oh, it's mindset. And I'm like, I wake up and I'm happy. I don't need somebody to tell me like, right. Hey, you need to tell yourself you're awesome. I'm like, no, I want to tell you you're awesome. Like, let's go. But it's different, because there's been times where I'm like, oh, it is mindset. I can say this. Something simple like I can block off a Sunday morning, right? I was blocking myself from saying it because I was worried about what they were thinking. And at the end of the day, I'm getting in my own head, right? So that is a form of mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's helped
a lot. How does your relationship with your coach work out? Is it a weekly call that you have, or scheduled weekly call? We
have a scheduled weekly call. He really has me like peel the onion back. It's more of
is this the KW coach or okay?
Yeah, so
MAPS, right? Is that their program?
Yeah, I was looking for the coach that was going to say, Stacey, you need to be doing this, this, and this, and this. And I didn't get that. I got the coach that was like, well, what do you think?
Sure.
Let's talk about this.
Those are the good coaches.
Yeah.
Make you come up with your own answers.
It is. And then he'll be like, randomly, I don't agree with you, Stacey. But that's what helps you grow, and it fixes,
for sure,
your strategies, what you're looking to do in your game plan, your goals.
Who's your coach?
Phil. He's in Alaska. And
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you know Michael Reedy at all? Does that name ring a bell?
Sounds familiar.
He coaches a lot of Keller Williams agents as well, and he's one of our clients with Tampa Bay Real Producers as well. So shout out to Michael. He does a great job. Cool. He works with a lot of the top producers in the St. Pete office.
Okay.
And various, but I mean, he works with agents all over the country. But anyway, so I was just curious if you knew them at all. But I know that KW, again, is not only known for some of their video training platforms and so forth, but also having great coaches that are part of their program. So it's funny because you mentioned you started coaching 2 years ago. You've also had your 2 best years in real estate in the last couple of years. So you think there's been a correlation there?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And we bring that has come up a lot too on this podcast, like the importance of getting a coach. Some agents I think are hesitant to do it, maybe for the reason you laid out, like just having a misconception on what it's for and do I really need it? But at least in my experience too, as an entrepreneur, when I have invested in coaching, it's always seemed to brought a return. As long as it's a good coach and you have the flexibility of getting rid of one if they're not providing what you need. But a good quality coach in your corner can really open up a lot of your blind spots and help you in immense ways. So I really believe it's a great investment at the end of the day.
I fought it for a long time. And then somebody, it may have been Bill, I can't remember. Somebody said to me, and they're like, every great athlete has a coach behind them.
Totally.
And it's not because they don't know that they have to work harder, they have to diet, more, they have to, work the plays as much as possible. It's because they're not seeing what they need to do, and a coach can look at the big picture and hone in and guide you in the right direction and push you to greatness.
Totally.
Right?
That's what a good coach is supposed to do, and do it in a way that allows you to find those solutions,
Right.
So you can get to the next level and have your own breakthroughs. Okay, a couple other quick things. Do you have a favorite TV show or movie?
Yes, and none are appropriate. I watch stupid stuff. Like, I feel like real estate.
You like to turn the brain off and just get entertained?
To be honest, in real estate it can get stressful. So if I watch TV, it's going to be something dumb that's going to make me laugh, that is mindless. Usually something like Seinfeld, The Office.
I love Seinfeld. Classic.
It never gets old. I mean, it never gets old.
I could watch 3 reruns and still be laughing the whole time.
Yeah, I love like the Mindy Project, like stuff like that. Anything that's like
So you're a comedic gal.
Yeah.
You like to laugh when you're watching some, which I love that. I mean, I'm very similar in that way too. So I can see that. Kramer is one of the best characters of all time on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
He's awesome.
He is. Classic. Ted Lasso is another good one too. Have you ever seen that show?
Oh, I watched the whole thing. Of course I did.
There you go. Anything with comedy, she's all about it.
Yeah, probably
that
seen
makes
it
sense.
3 times over. Oh, is it really? Oh, see?
What do they have? Season 4? Is that where they're at now?
That's a good
Okay.
show.
I'll have to check that. Apple TV. I don't even watch Apple TV, but that's the only thing that I've watched.
Me too.
Either that or if there's a sports game on or something. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I'm a big sports nut too. Are you guys involved in any sort of affiliation, like associations, charities, anything that's really passionate or important to you?
Yeah. So, I mean, every paycheck I donate to KW Cares. That's automatic.
It's a great cause, yeah.
Yeah. And then, but we do Sleep in Heavenly Peace. So we always donate beds every year. We do like our big KW, build a bed. We did 200 the last 3 years. Actually, is this 4 years now? Our goal is always 200 beds. We raise the money for it. We build them. It's like we do 1 day in, I think they're going to kill me. I can't remember the date, but we do it once on one side of the year.
You can always throw it in the description later, Stacey. It's all good.
And then one towards the end of the year as well. And it's fantastic. And actually there is, another Sleep in Heavenly Peace is the place, and there's like 6,000 people on the wait list right now for a bed in Pinellas County. So every county has a list, and Sleep in Heavenly Peace builds them. So it's a great foundation. There is
I haven't heard of that. So we try to do a spotlight every month in our Making a Difference section in the magazine.
Yeah.
And it's designed to spotlight a nonprofit organization that a top producer is affiliated with. And, we've done, I don't know, in the 6 years that we've done this, most of those months we've done a different organization. We've done KW Cares, I think, more than once for certain agents that have been involved with it. I haven't heard of this. You said Sleeping with Heavenly Peace? Yeah,
Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And they get like the beds and the mattresses and everything at wholesale prices so that it's affordable. So I think it's like $250. We'll build a whole bunk bed, including mattress, sheets, everything. Like, it's great. And then we sit there and we sweat all day, sand, nail. I've done every single position. I never thought I could build something. And you dip it in like this vinegar. I mean, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good cause.
Yeah. It makes you feel good too to know that you're actually putting in the time and the effort to try to make a difference. So we'll have to see if we can do a spotlight on them at some point too. I think that'd be neat. All right. So we'll wrap up with 2 last questions. One is, if somebody wants to connect with you, Stacey, and just kind of pick your brain a little bit more about your story, about your experience in networking, because I mean, it's pretty impressive that you are doing the volume that you're doing with such a high percentage of it coming through networking. And I know basically referrals has been 100% of your business, so that in and of itself is impressive. A lot of agents who focus solely on referrals don't have the level of transactions that you have, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to get to that volume is an impressive stat. What's the best way for someone to reach out to you if they want to pick your brain?
You can reach out to me anyway. My phone number is 813-480-1734, or I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I think I have an X account, but I don't know how to use it. Let's be real. And my email is Stacey@staceyward.net.
Cool. A lot of different ways. So we could throw it up there in the description and people can connect if they want to. Last question I have for you, one of my favorites, is what I call the legacy question. So as we think about those days when you will be hopefully sitting on that rocking chair looking back on what you're most proud of and what you'd want to be most remembered for, what do you think would be most important, to you in terms of your legacy and what you'd want people to remember you for?
Doing business with integrity, helping people, not selling people, and listening. Yeah.
Those are great things.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with the listening part.
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah, very much so. That's been in my experience anyway. So I appreciate it. This was easy, wasn't it?
It was. Thanks
Piece
for having me over.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll have to do it again sometime. We're going to put a bow on the episode the way we always do, which is with a challenge to the audience. So if you're listening live on any of our streaming platforms, or you're listening on any of our favorite podcast platforms out there, or you're watching on the YouTube channel, what is one action step that you can take from our conversation today with Stacey that will propel you forward personally or professionally. I'm a big proponent in whenever you're listening to a podcast or something like this to try to like learn something or improve in some way, if you don't take an action step, you're going to miss out on the real gem that podcast can provide. And so maybe it's something as simple as just booking a call or reaching out to someone like Stacey to have a conversation, or maybe you need to look up a local networking group that you can dive into and really understand the importance of how that can accelerate your business if you get into the right groups. Maybe you need to pick up the book that Stacey recommended, What Exactly to Say, or look into the charity that she mentioned, or there was a lot of different things that we went through. You know, we even talked about how she got rolling with garage sales if you're a new agent and you're looking for ideas of how to be able to get those first leads flowing. But what is it for you? Can you take one action step that'll help move you forward? And if you do, then of course this time was worth it in listening to the conversation here today. So we'll wrap up with that. Again, we're powered by Top Producers Nation. Check us out at topproducersnation.com to learn how to become a top producer in your desired market, and we can help you do just that. We'll see you on the next episode of Tampa Bay Real Producers. Check you later.